assumption. But the problem we have in Uganda, no one will tell you the truth that your assumptions are not flattable. Everyone will clap for you and say you have a very good report. As we move in corners, we find people are now backbiting how your report has weird assumption. So some of us have been tired of those. And one of the challenge in MDC2, someone asked us the question. Okay, what were the assumptions we are using to estimate some sectors? UNDP was doing proposal transport, I will call it. So they called me, they said, oh, that's that looks pretty more. MDCQ. I think it has the data sets such that we send our proposal how is e-mobility in electric cars, the same speed deployed, and the motorcycle. And it doesn't make effects because you call it a confession. Confession. See, I started from quite sick. So for us, English was an issue. Can understand in Uganda. So the confession is we had used weird assumption. We had used assumption from immobility, vehicle, or but because we have poor country, poor, nice, poor, we say go to and use the same time. But honestly, we didn't have the national reference figure. We use the immobility. In these people, you give up body weight, those the e-motorcycle you see. None of them has the uniform emission standard. So we use the standard of 0.05 tons of carbon per year, assuming that motorcycle is on the road and it travels about 50 kilometers per day for 10 checks throughout the year. So you can see the nature of assumption. Keeping a motorcycle on the road for 1 year. Then we multiply with what we forecast. Then we multiply the number of motorcycles. Then we give you the emission reduction. Indeed, also us is the projection of the assumptions are too many. There are other things which you don't ask. But when the product comes out, so many things cannot be explained. So this time, MDC3 has been supported by a number of partners. And there are a number of ongoing studies, including the stock. So one of the ongoing work is on modeling. We're trying to see how the country will be maybe the next middle of the century, half of the century. And they already predetermined reduction targets, for example, Vision 2040, then NDP4, and other. Remember, Vision 2040 has already a target for the ratio of the carbon cost. Then NDP4 has also fine-tuned the target on carbon forests. Then also the NDC2 had the targets running out to 2030. And recently, we did the forest reference emission level. sometime back. That's good. We are progressing here. And we are going to describe the difference. Now, when you put this into context, if you put the forest preference level we have, use it as a constant emission level across the years we are in, and then compare with what we are reporting and the one international NGO report. Yeah, start my head. Global Forest Watch. They are not high. And what pains most people listen to Global Forest Watch data. Uganda data. There was a virtual call where Global Forest Watch was reporting in the forest in Uganda around 300 something million tons. That's the limit. This, which for us we don't know. But for us, we have our data sets. Now, part of this study, what we have in country, what can we rely on? What are those assumptions that are context specific that can give us a picture? Now we need to continue to change. Maybe we deal with not in the medium range. And how are we performing with all this framework we are doing? Roots, growers, restoration, and so forth and so on. Then we see where we are, such that our colleagues who are doing modeling work or BBC3 and other forest-related work have the basis also to build on. And we think that as this information will flow, we will have improved something and building on already what is available, what we have in inventory, what we have in a number of forest-related information centers. So with that, we think that this study is coming at a time where we are coming up with the third NDC or the third version of Uganda's NDC. The Assistant Commissioner of Climate Uganda has one NDC. When you see people, they hear that expressed by the same. What do you mean that Uganda wants this? So Uganda's NDC was INDC. Because we never wanted to disturb ourselves. When we made the Paris Agreement, we moved I, say NDC, then we updated it. So the stock take is yet to tell us whether we do another update or we come up with a typical new NDC. What we are collecting, there is pressure coming, pushing all of our countries to communicate new rules. So don't be shocked if the summit in Addis sends the automatic message from Hustle. So, from the CEO of African Neighborhoods, climate change, where our permanent member. All of you should send NDCs with targets. Years as 2035, that will automatically mean that time with UNC. So, data is our problem. If we narrow the data, we will have realistic, but realistic targets to cover as possible. And with that said, allow me now to welcome the representative of the Ministry, Water and Environment, and our Assistant Commissioner, Forest Sector. Thank you very much.
Very much, Robert. Done a very good job to give a bit of a background on our aspirations. And then I will talk about the pressure coming for us to submit an NDC this year. Spot on. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen.
Dr. Sir.
It's a pleasure indeed to be here this afternoon. Representing the short and specifically from the forest sort of support. My name is Bob Kasim, Assistant Commissioner for Forestry. I also dabble as the National Request for Company Ghana, among other functions. So this afternoon, I have a very simple task to deliver opening remarks, engagement. And that something that happens. So I'm going to write that. But maybe before I read that, those opening remarks, I wish to just reiterate that Addis, where I'm traveling tomorrow, very likely, like Robert mentions, may call for African countries to this is as quickly as possible because of some pressure that we shall tell you that is coming from the global community. You're that. We have all this talk about carbon spread and the countries like disease. And so the countries are in the middle thereof and they are less. What decision can I make as a country whether to do my NDC, prioritize an NDC, rather than go deep dive into carbon curve or something. So we anticipate that it's going to be some communication that is because the Africa Climate Summit is going to retire summit. Right now, there's an Africa Climate Summit from the past. Then after that,
You should send it to family and
those are the classes. Focus on climate. That is coming by 11%. So usually decisions that can come out of this summit. Then this is I'm going to try and follow it. I'm pretty sure that it's going to the colleagues from the climate change environment.
yes.
I'm very sure that some decisions are going to happen. So these are opening remarks at this reception meeting for a study on estimation of emissions and removals in forests from deforestation and forest degradation. At Hotel of Ghana, this day with Nalo September. So representatives of the Ministry, Department of Agencies, Department, representatives of international and local NGOs, colleagues from the Ministry of Water and Environment, ladies and gentlemen. I greet you in the name of our Lord Jesus Christ and wish to again welcome you to this very important engagement in which we are seeking your input. The process as mentioned to estimate emissions and removals from deforestation and forest degradation purposes of providing useful information for mitigation and adaptation aspects of the ongoing process to prepare the NDC 2.0. I also wish to thank WWF for the support that is providing, but not forget to thank the African Development Bank, the World Bank, and that are supporting the operation of the NDC. So, and to encourage that the support goes far and we go far, raising the profile of forestry, the NDC 2.0. You might be aware that the process to prepare the NDC 2.0 zone and the number of statements, partly that some of which you have attended, the stock tests, the assessments, the modeling, and while that process is going on, there are a number of requests that are coming forestry sector for us to make a contribution into, the determination of our education and adaptation aspirations. So while we have that lot of pressure here, sector to provide an input, there's pressure from the local for us to submit direct as quickly as possible. So please note that the country's number one priority, our response to climate change has not changed. It is still adaptation, still in the context of addressing key vulnerabilities in the sectors, building adaptive capacity of levels, addressing loss and damage, and increasing the resilience of communities, infrastructure, and ecosystems. And the sector of scope for adaptation has been broadened from the NDC to 2.0 and likely to be maintained and probably broadened even further. The NDC 3.0 based on the stock 10. But was broadened, of course, from agriculture, forestry, water, infrastructure, energy, risk management, and health. Also include ecosystems like wetlands, where we have to keeping a keen eye on the peatlands, biodiversity in the mountains, water and sanitation, fisheries, transport, manufacturing, industry, and mining, cities, and built environment, such that is reduction, tourism, and education. Which also to view that the other related initiatives to improve our activity data for forestry, particularly from the UN REDD program support that we are currently having from 2023 up to now. And I wish to request the consultants to reach out more to the institutions that are involved to make sure that we have additional information to form this piece of work. It's also important to note that Uganda has improved on ecological approaches accounting for anthropogenic greenhouse gas emissions. The implementation of this upcoming NDC 3.0 mitigation policies and measures will again be across energy, forestry, and other land uses, peatlands, waste and industrial processes, and produce use. It's expected that NDC 3.0 will continue to define those sectoral mitigation and adaptation measures and interventions will clearly define corresponding targets for the corresponding period of this. And so we, as the forestry sector, we really want to keep a very close eye and we shall use the results from this work to do, which we are doing an inception engagement to you in order for us to provide an input process of preparation of the discipline. So we are also keenly closely watching the police of the climate change department whether we shall make that decision that matters in terms of whether we just revisit this, right? Based on the results of the implementation of 3.0 or develop a new NDC. So the decision shall make up the doctrine and the road is at a model engagements that we had. So the forestry sector will close eye on that, ensure that the profile for forestry is kept as close like NDC 2.0 or even more NDC 3.0. I wish therefore to reiterate the need for your open-mindedness in this meeting. Provide useful feedback to this session engagement, because it's now that you can either operate it, or that for us to have a report that will help us to feed clearly and effectively to the process of voting on this. So with those two words, I wish therefore thank you for the ensuring that you come for this engagement. Very short notice. But I use the power that and to me this afternoon to therefore open this meeting for discussion. God bless you.
Now it's an assumption. Okay, let's go to the hotel. We have a working team. Thank you very much. Please join me in thanking.
We are going now to have presentation. Can that screen be extended more? That's the maximum to resolution. Okay, so we are going to have a presentation, I say, from climate change department. And you please check your email. And as the presentation is being loaded, on the town plan, and related instruments, especially carbon markets. And also thank you, staff of the open gates, the consultants, looking other where you will rate that. So some decent this let's make sure those explore those windows. Also, let's talk about what doing. There are a number of databases. The National Forest Security Information System. This started by the UN in the first house that we started the last 20 years. Maybe the consultants will tell us. Because we have some so yes, and then ensure that both the Ministry of Water, the Climate Change Department, Forest Sector Support Department continue to support the many activity that as we have. That's why we can come their information which we have.
Maybe
But
you say, you send to
one of the problems we have is publishing. The man there, many of you have benefited from the wisdom of Steve and more to see that. Because I like to the fathers of forestry. Because now the cities are growing old, you see the forestry data is no longer as frequent as it was. So there is a challenge. This let's publish forestry data. I know in the capital markets, no one wants to submit forestry information. For a number of uncertainty. But sure what you have done, I have you from there. Are we ready now?
He's sending.
Wait, oh, presentation is ready on. So allow me to now welcome the representative of Climate Change Department.
I'm sending another, not this one.
Okay. As you check your email, I forwarded you. So please come and take us through as the thing is being ready. The time is not on our side. Water is at the back, so don't wait for plastic water bottles. Oh, we have people online looking to introduce themselves. Maybe in that meantime, can we, online people, online participants, are you following us? You are.
Yes, I'm Miriam Kawala. I work with Amy.
Okay, you have to look of feedback millions. Who else online? On your blue screen. Okay, the online colleagues, you can introduce yourself in the chat. As we continue, this meeting is we call it live telecast. It is live on Google.
YouTube.
YouTube is part of Google. YouTube is part of Google. So just before to YouTube, search Emily Uganda. You'll find a YouTube channel. We have agreed with our partner, instead of waiting for workshop reports, be online and see the workshop. This purpose of waiting for workshop report, be online. So yes, I want to invite Sophie to come and take up. Can you welcome Sophie?
Once again, my name is Sophie Namone. I am a climate change officer from the Ministry of Water and Environment. I wish I would updated greenhouse gas inventory for forestry for the follow sector. That is based on the data that was gotten for the second biannual update report, which we have submitted and will yet be soon to be published. So, according to the SBUR, the second biannual report, it covers emissions from energy, agriculture, forestry, and other land use waste, and industry. Our energy covers transport as well. And total emissions, realize that it took, it is running from 1995 to 2019. So emissions rose from 43,000 gigagrams of carbon dioxide equivalent to 112 in 2019. And Apollo was the largest emitter, having 76%. Followed by waste, energy, and IPPU. What we are reporting on in our second biannual report is carbon dioxide, methane, nitrous oxide, and also other precursor gases were included, including carbon monoxide, nitrous oxides, sulfurous oxide, and non-methane VOCs. Our land cover maps, we have 5 of them. That's 1990, 2000, 2005, 2010, and 2015. And NFA, our colleague, Mr. Kisa, will maybe elaborate on this. They use the map subtraction approach to estimate the change in land use. Yeah, the biomass stock changes are estimated using tier 1, and where we have national like country specific data, we use this. conversion from land with high biomass stock to one of low stock, that's in tropical high forest to cropland results in net emissions. Okay, this is a description of activity that, sorry, I had lost my chain of thought there. But we are describing the conversion of land biomass stock coefficients as well as mineral soil carbon stocks. You look at the completeness check for our activity data. In land remaining the same, that is since 2019 to since 1995 to 2019, land that hasn't been used in land conversions and aggregate sources burning. We realize that in our PUR2, those two were measured while the burnt area was estimated using NASA data. Okay, our total greenhouse gas emission trends per sector. We have Afolu having the largest share, as already talked about, while West being second, then energy including transport is Afolu since 1995 up to 2019 keeps its share growing. Yeah. West, it is the same. Energy and IPPU. So we have an estimate in 2019 of our Afolu. You realize it's about 60-something thousand gigagrams of carbon dioxide equivalent. IPPU is industrial production and industry. Industrial process by productive. I guess I'm getting stage fright. I don't understand. Yeah. Let me just give you a minute to look at that. So for industrial processes, it still has a small share, I guess, because we're only looking at cement production. Yeah. Let's wait, and then we'll take questions at the end of the presentation. Still, this is an analysis of our table, of our graph. Afolu sector remains the major source of greenhouse gases, taking the largest share of 76% of the entire inventory, while contributing 92% of carbon dioxide, 55% methane, and 78% nitrous oxide. The carbon dioxide was mainly from land use subsectors attributed to deforestation and forest degradation. The major source of methane is enteric fermentation, as we may all be aware, while the major source of nitrous oxide is burning, manure management, and unmanaged soil. This is another graph breaking down the the livestock and land use. So in livestock, we see the blue represents enteric fermentation. That is from cattle. Orange is manure management. The yellow is the forest land, and we'll notice that from 1995, the forestry wasn't emitting. It's actually in negatives because it was having sinks. And then In 1999 is when our forestry sector started emitting, and grew all the way in 2019, representing about, if we use forest land alone, it's about 370 minus 20, minus 15, about 60,000 kilograms of carbon dioxide equivalent from the negatives we had in 1995. So we're doing badly for this. I assume since we're in 2025, it must have grown much bigger by now. Our manure management has gained minimally. That is both methane and nitrous oxide. This one represents land. So the blue is representing burning, whether biomass burning, open burning. The red are direct emissions from managed soils, direct and indirect nitrous oxide from managed soils. While this is gray, it's rice cultivation. So in 1995, rice cultivation had about, okay, I'm not sure I can use this to estimate right now, but it grew larger in all the way to 2019, while open burning has a notable reduction. The emissions from burning have reduced quite compared to 1995, 2019. So we managed to put together some recommendations, I guess, to the whole house, as well as majorly to CCT. It's like we're advising ourselves. We need to strengthen the capacity of data providing institutions in GNG data collection, data archiving, and retrieval systems, which we are already doing in some of the institutions using the ICAT and the CBIT projects. And then improving quality control measures, data collection, especially in key categories or subcategories. Also, establishment of independent technical review teams, and the need for sectors to move from expert judgment to carry out surveys of studies. So we are having a lot of sectors, especially in our forum, using expert judgment. Thank you so much. We'll now take questions.
I was on your call. Who's assisting with this? My team or how it was. Where? Yeah.
I'm going to so sometimes complete your graphs. You could put one.
I think it was this one.
Okay. That's about what implying Alma. just trying to do this. What I understand. And they started in 1995, but you know, Nova 2 for the Nova. It keeps rising. Now, when it gets slightly confused, should we say it automatically is higher than affordable? And subsequently also is energy actually higher than waste? So, with measurements there, that's just like the other measurements. Sometimes not nice to analyze.
Thank you. Thank you for that presentation. Can you go to the graph where you're talking about C4? And on C4, my worry is if you look at how consistently C4 is being produced, and it's one of these gases that we have. What is that can be done to mitigate it, and how much do you produce as a country? And if you look at if we could somehow make use of this C4, if we could make use of C4 gas, would indeed address the problem in Afau, we capture forests and ranches, because we talk about biomass, and you convert C4 into energy. Would that one contribute to that one contributions? Is something that can be brought down those lines? Thank you.
More questions? Maybe just clarity on the other section of the map subtraction approach. That approach is more of an approach used to get differences between two time periods. If you have map A and you have map B, say for example 2000 and 2005, the map subtraction approach helps us to get the differences. Maybe for me, just wanted to understand why, when it comes to industrial products and processes, simply for the choice, among all other processes.
Yes.
Thank you so much. I'll start with explaining the graph. The way this type of graph is presented, it's made in a way that this is projecting all the emissions. So this is the total emission that was generated in 2019. Yeah. So green is representing Afolu. So green is representing Afolu. That means Afolu generated about. So it goes all the way to 80-something thousand gigagrams. Yeah. So this is in 2019. Yeah. West. So we shall subtract from around 100,000 to the 80-something. That is the amount of emissions that were generated from West. So it is not that West emitted more than Afolu. You have to do the subtraction to get the amount. Yes, all the way to IPP. On methane that is being generated, I think we have the Climate and Clean Air Coalition that is currently doing some work on a methane roadmap and all other short-lived pollutants. Yeah. So that is the activity that is currently being worked on by PCT in terms of curbing methane. But I'll also let my senior to maybe build up on that and make a better clarity. David, please.
Sorry.
Maybe before receiving other sets of questions, I think it's important for us to ask the comprehend what already has been presented. The issue of then what I understood from the question is can we convert that gas to energy use? Isn't it? Yes. And of course, that's one of the key mitigation measures where we, in our NDC, actually, we proposed that the countries should adopt technologies, for example, that convert methane to energy through biogas systems, whereby you can convert that methane could be captured from waste, decomposition from waste. It could be methane from livestock, as you've seen in the graphs. That methane can be converted to energy use. So it is not basically something which you can deal with, because you know that very well that methane is a very dangerous gas. So if we can put it into use, we can able reduce on its emissions, which come from such actions. Actions, for example, waste cultivation, poor waste management, among others. So that's what I can talk about. But the actions are well laid in our NDCs that portrays the kind of technologies we can adopt to convert into energy use. Yeah. Any other question? Yes, it's on cement and IPPU. IPPU means industrial processes and product use. It's a sector, it's a key emitting sector based on the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change category of emission sources. Of course, for us to prioritize key emission sources, it is guided by the IPCC to carry out key category analysis. Key category analysis help us to identify what are the key emitting sources in a given sector or subsector. And emissions from cement production is a key emitting source in the energy in IPPU, in industrial processes and product use. We also understand that other industrial processes and product use, there are other emission sources. For example, emission from iron and steel. But apparently, we don't have enough data or information regarding to regarding iron and steel. So what we have in hand is data which is collected apparently is emission from cement production, and that's what we report on to the IPCC. So that's why you can say that we can present emissions from cement production Because other issues from IPPC, IPPU are really negligible. They are so small. They're so small, and they don't form the key category. They don't form part of the key category sources. But cement production forms the key category under industrial processes and product use. Yes, I think that's answered.
Okay.
I see so many questions coming in.
That's the, and
I just wanted to understand. If you say, maybe what is the contribution of forestry to that they are following NDC? Then I try to relate with the recently concluded activity that for REDD+ and trees. If you say we are emitting over 85 million tons of carbon dioxide, but from the concluded activity for ash trees, you are sequestering, you have around 770,000 tons of carbon dioxide. Where does that leave Uganda? Because the process is saying that we have these tons that are available for sale. We can get money from them. But what we are emitting from our activities in forestry is more than what people are saying, the science is saying that we can sell. So where does that leave us?
Thank you for the presentation. I'm just wondering, Uganda Zabu, from the presentation, you are telling us that we increased the emissions from the materials. And we also, we are seeing the increase in numbers of poles that are made of utility poles that are made out of cement. Yet, there could be use of poles from eucalyptus. Have you failed to advise government of Uganda? I thank you.
okay, I think you responded to what? Oh, yeah. Okay, we need to close this because it's coming. Having stuff remain. Please go ahead.
In simple terms, because sometimes people share. Some people, for example, putting cars and seeing cars coming all the time to induce cars. Somebody wants to ask us, for instance, one of the biggest, how can we identify the emissions coming from cars? Is it possible?
Okay, thank you very much for these interesting questions. That's that all of us need to understand our emission sources very well, so that at the end of the day we make informed decisions. I'll start with one for the cement production. See, a lot of emissions are coming from cement production. Yeah, I understand this is a key, and based on statistics, it's a key emission source. And of course, there are clean production measures that we identified. For example, when we are producing cement, we use the material called clinker production. So clinker, which in most cases is a major source of carbon dioxide, and putting that in. So our NDC, I always refer to it. It states that we need to take measures to substitute clinker with a more efficient product in producing cement. So, one article is already from our student documents, such as NDC, is substituting clinker to other more efficient products, which can help us to produce cement. But as you know, given the fact that our drive for economic growth is increasing industrial production, we may not really reduce on production of cement, but we can use alternative raw materials to produce cement, which are efficient. So that measure was undertaken or was guided under our national government contribution. What does it mean for us as Uganda, given the fact that we need a lot of forest deforestation and degradation? I think that's what the question is. What does it mean in Uganda, given the fact that we also got in the issue carbon, yes, that-based payment or carbon trading? I can attempt to this, but I'll request Robert can come into this. It will be very, very important. I think that's it from our side. We shall be happy to give more clarity after this discussion. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, Mr. Mark. Okay. I see, Derek, we need to disseminate the SPUR second biennial update. I think that is after the expert review. I liked the explanation on clinker. How many of you have never used cement? There is no way you will manufacture cement without clinker. Okay? And the clinker, the product from calcium carbon. Very good. How many of you don't do chemistry? If you need to do chemistry, I will stop talking. If you need chemistry, I will continue. Okay. All levels is the easiest. So when you heat calcium carbon, you get calcium oxide and carbon dioxide. Our dangerous gas is what? That's why it's dangerous. Now, the substitution for clinker is which clinker can we use, which doesn't give us such kinds of gases that cement production. So that's the simple logic in the NDC. And then for cropland, I really need to check. I don't know why cropland, permission for cropland are using. Maybe it's because of the new approach the climate matter. The other interesting thing, in the past, our emissions were more from actual cropland. If you look at the inventory of 2002, think that was our first national publication. You see, our emissions were more problem. But as things go and change, there is also a growing trend where our brothers, rich parents, are saying we need to account more emissions from transport. And we have seen in some countries, the inventories are changing. Emissions are now being more accounted for energy and transport and from our phone. And then we also explain why things continue changing. Every time you hear the IPC says this year is warmer than the previous year, the more advancing we are able to carry things change. Now, you know, many of us were used to a vernier. We moved from a vernier, we went to a micrometer. Now we are moved from a micrometer, people are using just the visual estimation. So the more we advance, also in Uganda, the more we collect as actively data as possible, the more we collect more information as generated, the easier it is. Now, the political methods, you ask the information we have in the Red Plus work and the emissions, which I need to double check. But what I know, the information we are reporting from Red Plus, these are like the credits which we want to sell. And the credits that the team quoted the technical analysis as what we are estimated what we reduce first percent. So, and I think it's around 4 million tons. But the man is going to explain. And what is coming from here is the cumulative. But cumulative, based on some assumptions, because now there are a number of changes which have occurred in the IPCC as this area is about to us. So you find if for the last 2 years our inventory was at 10 tons, and it's good to here we are reporting giga carbon dioxide equivalent. So if you want to change that to million, remove the 1,000, and you remain with only the 2 places, 40, 70, 90. Okay. So what happens is there have been changes, the number of factors and how calculations are done, so many multiplications of global warming potentials and so forth. So maybe there might have been those computations which result in I don't know, Xavier, can you say something on what we are reporting to market under Red Plus? Oh, I've ambushed you. My apologies. Thank you, sir.
We, under Red Plus, we are reporting on the results that we have so far achieved. So since the publication of our baseline, 2018, 2 years later in 2020, we reported on the emissions that we had reduced. And we reported for the period 2015 and then 2016 to 2017. So 2015 to 2016, then 2015 to 2017. So our baseline was starting at 2015. So 2016 we reported something, then 2017 we reported something. So in each of those 2 years, it was about 4 million tons of carbon dioxide equivalent
that we had reduced from deforestation only. So the mathematics for the period 2017 to 2018 and 2018-2019 up to last year are being worked on. I will not have that information. But as soon as it's ready, we shall include it in our other reporting, and that report is called an annex, Red Plus Technical Annex, which is attached to this report, which was using to report to us with the biannual transparency report or biannual other name. Thanks.
Thank you. So colleagues, we are sorry if the mathematics is too much, but we are in emissions today. So I think let's graph ourselves. Tea is going to be served behind, so feel free when you feel hungry. I know I'm free, sir. It's not yet ready. 5 minutes. Okay. Tea in the next 5 minutes will be ready, but it's already 4 reality. And in that regard, I think we should go to why we are here. And we see the presentation. So colleagues, all of the questions you have, I'm going to be collecting a piece of paper such that we get ample time for consultants to respond to those key questions. So who, I don't know, are you going to someone listen? Okay, my work is simple. Once you load the presentation, I'll invite our consultants to come and take us through the inception report. Please feel free to dissect the inception report and ask for clarity. And as we move, like I have told you, we are contributing data. This data, someone I remember when I write the PR, I say, why are you calling it Emily data? No, this is not going to be Emily data. This data is going to go to FSSD and CC. No, we will still have rights. We will still have rights, but it is data which we are openly sharing. So allow me to welcome our consultants to take us through the exception report. Thank you very much. Once again, I'm Vincent. We will come to this session of the section report presentation. I would say I need to address the interest earlier from the audience as we are presenting this inception report. We have not it. Okay, so we want to use this opportunity
opportune time to get your interests, your assumptions, which we could or we might take into consideration during the course of this assignment. But then also, in case there is information that you might wish to share, you could channel it to Robert too, so that we provide some good study or information that could support, not only could, actually we will support the update of our future endeavors with regards to research. So with this, let's continue. This is our outline of the presentation. We shall basically look at the background. Our background will take us through why this study was thought of. Basically, it is as a result of the refinement of the 2006 guidelines for the affordable sector with regards to estimating the emissions and removals in greenhouse gases. But then also we shall look at the objectives of the assignment. And it is at this that we shall give you a simple or a quick run-through interpretation in terms of reference. But then also we look at the methodological approach, how we intend to close this. And then finally, we shall look at what we think the outline of the report, and then the work plan. And like I said earlier, opening remarks in terms of the questions and answer session. For some, we shall respond. We don't respond to some expect those responses either in a report or in the progress presentation, segment, or at the end of the segment. This assignment is a result to generate forest carbon data, emissions from the forest sector, but also the forest brief. So we believe that the information we shall really come up with will support the land ministry with regards to reporting. Now, how do we get to here or to this point? I may not explain each and every bit, but what you need to know, what is key here is the guidelines that were being updated. They stem from 1995, and these are the guidelines. Even the FAO start data Mr. Robert was talking about, FAO uses to, of course, customize to their database. So it is the same guidelines that have been revised all along, 2003, 2006, and now the 2019 refinement with that decision made in 2019 in Kyoto, Japan. So, with the Paris Agreement and while nations or parties need to undertake inventories, we could go back in time 2011, the Durban conference, where we see member countries urged to come up with systems to safeguard or provide approaches or avenues on how best they can meet the commitments with regards to the UNFCCC. But then also the Paris Agreement further strengthen the commitments of member countries with the coming up of the result-based payment approaches that seek to reduce emissions from forest degradation and forestation. So with this comes the need to quantify based on sectors, okay, in terms of emissions. So the whole, I would say, process that got us to the guidelines within the 2006 document to the refinement now we're talking about is to basically see that there is mutual trust and confidence among member countries when they go to report on their post-progress actions and initiatives in terms of numbers, but also see that these the data and the actions are transparent in the way they are actualized on the ground. But then also for parties to produce high reliable and quality data with regards to the emissions data, the national greenhouse gas inventory needs to be guided. So the refinement is basically communicating to this, okay? And then finally, from the Paris Agreement, specifically Article 13, where the national inventory report about anthropogenic emission sources needs to be prepared, it has to follow the good practice methodologies accepted by IPCC, and we are saying that the refinement of 2019 has to be thought of detail. So this is the refinement of the guidelines, and it provides a sound scientific basis when we are preparing our national greenhouse gas inventories. But then also it provides an update and supplements the 2006 guidelines. So it was well thought of by scientists and of course practitioners like here, that for any discrepancies that come with the submissions made by nations, we can have a common understanding of the approaches and methodologies. If you could go back in time and look at the submission of 2017 reference level, it came with a technical assessment. You saw the questions that were raised as if we were doing things perfect, but it's because of the methodologies countries adopt. Yes, some try to keep in check, but this refinement actually is thought to reduce the questions the technical assessment team might raise. Okay. Then finally, the methodologies that were assessed, the changes in science and technology also provided basis for this. And so the guidance actually comes in comprises of these chapters in 5 volumes, and for this assessment, for this assignment, our attention is going to be with the following sector. So for the Ugandan case, I talked of the Durban conference and how the REDD+ guidance comes in. Good strides that Uganda will have a strategy through which Uganda commits a number of actions. We can also see from the analysis of data over time
how or where or which forests are really towards the meeting of the mission reduction targets. And then also with regards to NDC that we have for the visions, I think up to 2022. So in case by the time Mr. Bob talks about, by the time those discussions are finalized, maybe also our data will be available and is case of dynamics. But then finally, we look at the reference level. So the difference level, this was also, as Robert talked about, the challenges that comes with reporting gas on the country. The global, I would say, repositories of data sometimes overestimate our emission levels or emissions. For example, the Global Forest Watch reporting that we had over 490 million tons of carbon dioxide equivalent for 2001. Actually, yeah, 2001 to 2023. It is kind of ambiguous. So at least we need to have information we can have at our national focal point or office, which can be used to defend in terms of reports that come from these agencies. And then I think this is the issue that comes with the reporting that we are seeing. And then the last objective of our assignment, and we shall see from the methodology, is looking at assessing the potential of these forests, or which forests have the potential of getting these emissions, or increasing in terms of acting as the sinks. So we want to see how best we are performing with regards to this project. Maybe if there is any update to it, we shall see, but at least for using it as a baseline. And also for our study, we hope to find some results for this reporting period, 2015 to 2025. And also, depending on how we shall have performed on the assessment, will give us a picture for the continuing period in case an update has not been requested. So, the objectives of the assignment: one, it looked at identifying and reviewing existing approaches, but also the new approaches that have been proposed in the 2019 amendment to the 2006 guidelines, national greenhouse gas inventories. So with this, we intend to augment this with this review of the current methodologies, but also look at what has been proposed with the refinement. If some have been adopted already, currently there is the research, the sectoral activity data program, the UNFCCC. I saw the last time I checked, it is already open to national focal points. I don't know if Mr. Bob has checked on that, but we shall see along the course of the study. We wish to look at what comes from
that initiative. Yes, and we believe that those who support will make good, reliable, and I would say precise data, including our emission reduction targets. But then also, FAO Standard Emission Database actually uses the guidelines. Okay? But we shall see in case of if there is any deferment or alignment to what we as a country would wish to adopt, would want to look at it. And then also the engagements. This is one of the engagements. So the engagements with the FSSB, Regulatory Department, and any other stakeholder out of by this engagement. So we believe that this will help us understand the approach and methodologies. And now it is from this that we shall come to another on how we will quantify the forest coverage stock losses that gains in the next 10 years. So previously, we, of course, for activity data, and specifically, I would say, our study would want to focus more on these classes, the forest debris. The guidelines provides six categories, and we want to. Okay, one of the discrepancies from the guidelines, I would say, which may be the GFWs are exaggerated about the pattern, because they go ahead and somehow what we normally break down. I don't know if we have really thought about this.
You break it down.
Yes.
For our participants.
Yes. Okay.
If you say the GW, please can you expound the logo?
Okay. When I say the GFW, I think the logo Forest Watch. If you are a good user of internet and Google, you will see the normal report some good data. It's interactive. Sometimes you can go and look at a given section, maybe forest, and then go to the country and then look at what they report about the country. Okay, so we're saying the figures reported there are in lump sum, and we're saying what happens if we break it down. Okay, and then we look at what comes from this, but then also from the assessment approach. Previously, we have used the MAPS abstraction, which I think some kind of hinted on. So currently, like I saw, there was a process from the technical assessment in terms of response that in the future we shall adopt the sample-based area estimation approach. We shall also delve into this. Most of these, for the general part of the study, this kind of study, we are going to explore the area-based, I would say, platforms, the IT in it. So we are looking at the GIS and remote sensing. So the sample-based area estimation approach, it basically looks at so with the sample-based area, we shall look at let's go back. We shall look at, like, say, within the plantations. Okay, so to fully exhaust the broad-linked subcategory, we shall look at the changes that are possible within a given area. Okay. Yes. To differ from the MAPS abstraction, you take the whole map and then you look at the change. Okay. But now for that revision, we're looking at it in detail. Because you might find, let me give an example. This is 10 hectares, but out of 10 hectares, we find that there was an encroachment of about 3 hectares. Okay, so we want to fully understand that the emissions we saw actually came from these 3 hectares. That is the sample estimation approach. Okay, so we hope to explore that in detail. So the maps that we shall generate for, I understand as already reported from the State of Environment report, and this we are going to develop 2023 to 2025 reports, mainland maps, and then we shall look at now from the analysis here. This analysis is going to come up with the emission factors, which we adopt and which we don't, and still to be an agreement. We're not going to be like a business. We are going to get back to you. We agree because at the end of the day, this study is going to develop a policy brief. This is a public document. Of course, the report depending on the sharing protocols, but this will be the policy brief is kind of public. It needs to be representative and adoptable. So whatever that comes with that document should be well perceived and understood, so that in case of use of or need for use of the data is really representative of what the country intends to achieve, and that will help us to come up with the closure of this objective, estimating the emissions and removals, okay, of the land use, land cover change and forests. So basically, this is the area we shall need to also take time to understand. We'll have regional studies, we'll have continental maps that have been generated. I think in agreement with our national data. If not, then we need to be really strong on that, because it's the communication that comes from the country that makes sense. I would not say. Then if it's research, whatever the researcher says, even though it is urgent, but at least it holds something. So that is the information we expect to come up with for this study. So it is still basically objective 2 and 3. We want to fully exhaust what the refinement talks about, because going forward, this is going to be the word that's going to appear in the document. So whatever we agree on should be an exhaustive discussion or analysis that will have come from the refinement. And then lastly, from the analysis of 2 and 3, we shall look at the mitigation potential of forests. This is more to do with the discussion that will come from what first of all has been proposed in the National Infrastructure Strategy and Action Plan, but then also what the country looks at when it is hitting hard or more with regards to the green growth strategy, but then also the NDC, what it has currently and what it proposes in the coming years, but then also when we look at the update that comes from the country, the support information of the forests that we have looked at
should be really a good evidence and strength to the ministry when they are giving out this biannual data reports. And then when it comes to our climate change policies and acts, what they propose, which areas will need more emphasis with regards to these areas. Because based on the time, there are some plantations, of course, that will be, since we're going to be looking at the aerial approach, you will find that most of the areas are green. But then what happens after harvesting? So it goes back to the plan and the policy that we have. Currently, you have seen all over the country, or if you have been privileged to travel, you have seen a lot of plywood companies coming along. I don't know whether that will send some signals to you, but when you think about it, we need to face it from the policy perspective, because from the policy perspective, we can advise or we can find a way of getting companies or players within the value chain to invest, okay, heavily in the forestry sector. And at the end of the day, it contributes to our NDCs and probably the realization of the actions being talked about. Because most of these companies are cutting and they don't have any of planting. People are selling trees and they're scattered. But then also, in terms of the contributions of smallholder and the planters, okay? So these sell and they are never considered, I'd say. So this will give us more discussion into this segment, but also it will be as a result of understanding the mitigation potential of these. So generally, that's what we need. We tend to look at and how we tend to look at it. Then finally, this is how quickly we shall have the report. Again, the gist of the study is going to be the methodologies, current and the proposed methodologies for forming the inventories. But then also, we shall look at the maps and the figures, okay? The trends. We shall come up with those, with a view of those graphs. They should be able to show us the trends and probably give some inferences to probable action. But then also, in terms of the estimation approaches, now this will be some form of formulation, okay? Upon refinement and development. And then finally, we shall look at some products which we shall attach. So this is the action plan, the schedule for the assignment. I suppose we will do September, and we'll have the inception report. Of course, refinement from this will be the fuel for further finalization of the other milestones. So, in case we reach out to you, we shall use more of Robert to reach out to you to get some of the information we feel may need to be thought of in informing this study. And then finally, we shall come back here to maybe here or elsewhere, fully present the report and the findings, but also use an opportunity to give out discussion.
basically, that's what we had. So we welcome your questions, answers, and queries, but also inputs. I would say, like I said earlier, we would seek your information, your questions. Of course, your questions give us more thought about the approach of the study, or to the study, but then also, what do you think of the proposition? If it is really communicating to what the country wishes to have. Because at the end of the day, we believe that this should be able to ease work of the technical team that will beat us to either get NDC or any reporting that is needed. Thank you.
And you really have the way. Thank you very much, Mr.
The floor is open. We have had technology. We have had what new things we are going to see. Some of you, just to remind you, I was talking about whether I should remind what has been said, which I don't like. Is this work very to us to look at things which we are in pay attention. Looking at area, we're going to look at area-based platforms, which are simply explained. What's the position of one of the problems we have had, when people hear deforestation in Mayuge, the news will say emissions, not comparing out of the square mile city on an acre. So for them, they give you the impression that the deforestation is on the square mile. Okay, that's one thing we have settled about. So what are your questions? I want to start with the headings. Please remind us to
Hello, my name is Jenny Banis. I'm a veterinary consultant. So, estimations are quite difficult. So, you mentioned two methods, just try to be from map subtraction and sample-based area estimate, right? So, in your report, in your final report, because they are completely different methods, so how do you address the difference? Okay, answer me as if you answer student.
You are protected. You are protected.
Because I'm also learning, yeah, because now they'll give you may give you an estimate. If you use both the methods, you might have a difference of maybe 10,000 hectares. How do you account for that difference in your report? And when you, in the final submission, what numbers will you take to account?
Thank you very much. And then if I go to the XY chromosome, I saw a hand stuff. It had a ring on it. Anyway, okay.
Thank you for the wonderful work. I just had maybe to continue from what the lady has said to methods. I would think it would be best if you put for all, you show us like how, where, and how you prioritize these other two methods. Like this when I'm doing this, I'll use this method. When I'm doing this, I'll be using this one, so that we know where we shall criticize maybe and provide feedback. Then another thing is on the remote sensing bit where Landsat, CEPAL, you outlined, but the ground truth is vague. I just wanted you to indicate for us the number of field plots, sampling design, and how these will validate the classification accuracy. Then on the other issue was on the engagement with these other stakeholders. It would be best if you hit, like if I'm meeting FSSD, this is the kind of feedback I expect from them. CCD, NFA, without NFA, something like that to help enrich your report better. Thank you very much.
Session. I get the question. Yes.
Yes, thank you. My name is Steve. Say the name again. Steve Winsita is the name. And yeah, thank you very much for presenting this reception report. Now, my question, what is the question or a series of questions but dealing with one subject matter, will probably be you, but it will also probably be Emily who drew up these terms of reference. And it might just be that actually what is going to be, I need some more clarification. Now, when I look at objective 1, at table 1 and 2 and 3, really what you are collecting, or can I say we, because it's going to be Uganda government. What we are collecting is data which will enable us to fulfill our international obligation of reporting back. So UNFCCC, revising our documents and all that kind of thing. But I'm more interested in number 4, because me as a practitioner, a forestry practitioner, number 4 is much more interesting. Because it's talking of mitigation potential, taking into account a range of forest management practices. Now, what does that exactly mean? What are you going to be looking for? Practices, it says including practice. You're going to including restoration. There are more things you are going to investigate. Now, when I see the methods there, and in connection with that which I have just asked, for example, if you are going to look at a hybrid of literature, review maps, what actually are you going to be looking for? What are you going to try and find out? And the rest of the documents, because at the end, there is a study report, but also a policy brief. Now, what I would imagine the government of Uganda be looking for in this report beyond that national reporting is what we can pick for and can pick and run with the national development plan, for example. And yeah, this is also it's a report. Yeah, but that's what I'm looking for really, because when I'm doing some work, I want to go in this report and say, yes, I think restoration through protection work or through planting, enrichment planting, we emit or get sequester more carbon. So let me go with this wherever it is possible. I don't know whether I'm being proposed without being understood. So exactly actually what are you looking for in that? And these methods, what are they actually trying to find out?
So,
just the driver or car number, UBH 657Z. If you are here, I'm going to come. Amber is driving the UBH. I thought it was the UK. I repeat, UBH 657Z. Anyone? Sir, we don't have anyone. Thank you. Yes, I have another hand.
Thank you very much. For me, it's a clarification as a dilemma user, should I want. When two things, I think when the objective, the assessing the education potential. The first thing that struck me was when this what you had on the categorization. There's something when you say the main forest maybe. So let us know whether this also includes forests on private land, and very much so the agroforestry contribution, because there's a contribution for agroforestry which we need also capture. So I'm wondering whether it lies anywhere. That's the one. Then the other thing is on 4, assessing quantifying forest stop losses and gains, or something like that. I think there was this review that you are looking at. My interest mainly is on energy, biomass energy, a lot of concern on that. And when I look at what you are trying to review, you don't seem to move at the policies in energy, so that we see how we can do some coherence. Two, I want to highlight the National Energy Policy 2023 and then the Energy Transition Plan. These are 2 documents that are guiding government already. So I would think maybe also include them so that we move together as a whole government, so that we have a common understanding. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much. Just wanted to bring my contribution from also a learning perspective, especially when we specify which is to land use, where of course we concentrate on an agricultural perspectives and the rest. But as a planner, I look at the main degraders, maybe social pollution, as one, infrastructure development, and the built environment. So I'm trying to understand, checking myself and seeing where do issues do with the structural development for public transport and mobility fall this segment, because they are the big enhancers of emission. For example, they are comprehensive coverage. Because you're structured in something to do with green growth, which is a passion for me. So how do these things come in? There are areas that are very specific. I think the gentleman here, my close friend, related to something to do with NDPs. And we have investment plans for those things, large scale industries and all that. So this study, where do those things fall? We focus on the other elements and forget about them. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Moderator, thank you, and through you, the consultants.
Also,
I participated in the putting comments on the terms of reference. So whatever marriage we have, we consume it.
So I have prepared a few notes. I would like to know where to submit them, moderator. So then let me read them. Okay. So I have arranged them on the line of the way the report is submitted. And on the background, I don't have comments, moderator. I just moved on. On chapter 2 called GHG emissions and removals, I have a comment on paragraph 1. And the paragraph's first sentence spent more time on the safeguards instead of introducing this section of the emission detections. Although both the decisions were made in Durban, he has picked the section on safeguards for red instead of the section for this activity, where they gave the permission for the MRV. If you could double check, you would remove that sentence, but leave the second sentence in that paragraph. Then on paragraph 2, the first sentence is starting with red. That is, although the subject has a link to red, the second paragraph, the second sentence in that second paragraph would be the first one, and then we'll find a way of linking it with red later. On interpretation of terms of reference, that is another chapter. I don't have a comment on the data. And then on the section called purpose and objectives, I also don't have a comment. My next comment comes on number 5 on approach and the methodology. On subsection 5.2, on methodology, the table, the first table, yes, on the first line, on the objective 1, I am requesting you that we should not miss the line or a phrase which says new approaches of estimating emissions from forest degradation and deforestation in the column of results. So you have some list of bullets of results you want to share, but you have missed the very one we were interested in you finding for us. So I am requesting you to include it. Then on the objective, this next slide, those 2 lines, one on quantification of carbon stocks, and then the other one of estimating emissions and removals. I have these comments that if this report is going to support REDD+ activities, then we need that the quantification of the forest carbon stocks, I will share these notes, yes, listen. Of these carbon stocks and the quantification of the emissions and removals should also be expressed at different levels. And I am requesting that the national level is, of course, usually the first one, but we also have other formal levels we use in the country. And we listed some of these levels when we were preparing, Mr. Chisa, when we were preparing the land accounts with UBOS. We listed those levels, but if moderator, the resources allow, I want him to go even below the district and reach the sub-county and also my parish model, if resources allow. But that systematic way of showing these changes that you are counting for us would be nice, because then each person will pick what he wants at that level. And then if these results can also appear in different forms, the Word document, the maps, including the traditional Excel sheet, Mr. Chisa, those are marvelous. Don't miss those Excel sheets. If in the results you can share them with us as well, they will be usable. And then on the line, on the objective line, which is called assess the mitigation potential of forests, I had this point that you should include the mitigation potential associated with the first 2 bullets are the ones which are written on your TOR as deforestation and forest degradation. So you are assessing that one. I
familiar with that, but I am requesting the moderator, if the resources allow, that you also assess the potential associated with carbon stock changes. Some are associated with enhancements such as direct afforestation, reforestation, and agroforestry. Others are associated with management, like protection to allow natural regeneration. So if that is possible, and for example, sustainable management of forests, sometimes we call it improved forest management. If those potentials can be picked as well, and that is what my senior was mentioning, then each consumer will pick what he can eat or she can consume, and then immediately remove. So these potentials are mentioned, and then they are also disaggregated down up to my parish. I think the sky would be not my limit anymore. Then the last line on the proposed outline of the report, I was requesting that is it possible to have the report to target what the different consumers will need? So one of the audiences and editors of this report will be the NDC revision or update, whatever form it will take. But if you could borrow the tables we have used in the updated NDC, and then if your result could have an identical table, then my team leader Robert would simply pick that table and simply enter it at that section. Then, but also he's not the only consumer. I'm looking, for example, at the red plus. Suppose now you have the information, we are going to use it for our second baseline. So if you could check our baseline, the first baseline we prepared, the first prayer we prepared, and check the way tables are arranged. And then when you are presenting your results, you can, like that table which says the transitions of the forest land use and land covers and what they become. And then the other table which says the owner of the forest and how it has changed and the areas associated with them and the emission factors you have identified. Then if that table would look similar to that one, then the person doing our second prayer, maybe it will be you, would also help just pick and enter it there. And then you actually mentioned it. When we wrote the other annex, in order for us to claim, now for example, we have already put a proposal to claim the year 2016, 2017, just I told you. So now that annex we are preparing, you will see those tables. And then there were some questions which they asked us, which we promised to look at. If you could be kind and look at them, and when you are answering, you answer them for us, but also those tables, the way we used them, if you also some of your results could have those tables, of course, subject to availability of time, and maybe some resources. And then I have even more examples. You have seen our second national communication, and then also we are preparing an update, which would have either another new name, the transparency update or something. And also if you check the way they have guided us to present the tables for inventories of the afford sector. And you see those columns and the software behind those columns, which is on the side of the Commissioner for Climate Change responsible for mitigation. If you could borrow that table also, and one of the Excel sheets looks like the afford table for the second national communication and the second biennial update. Chair, I thank you so much. I have said everything.
Actually, that is marvelous. Thank you very much, Xavier. We are going to think of the small report which are plus WWF support. Guys, that the consultants are working, there is a team. It's also key. So that is one proposal.
Okay, thank you very much, consultants, for that presentations. I basically have two areas of where I need clarity. One is this study is going to help us to come up with some emission factors. That's true. Yeah, so based on the guidelines is if you if you undertake a study whereby the country comes up with country-specific emission factors, you need to do your calculation to update the national GHG method. In this case, I know the recalculation will be basically for this forestry sector. So when I look at the years for which we are going to conduct this modeling, my assumption, my understanding is if you are to do recalculation, you need to go back to the national inventory years from 1995 up to the current year of which your inventory is. So, was this I don't know how to state it. Yes, actually, thank you very much. Will it be put into consideration, the recalculation from 1995 to 2005? Because it's a requirement by the, so it's a standard. So, will it be put into consideration? Vis-a-vis what you shared with us during 2005 to 2025. I think we need that kind of calculation. Then when it comes to mitigation assessment, I think I didn't get in understanding of the methodology we're going to use for sure. It wasn't clear. The reason why I wanted it to be clear is apparently there are a lot of modeling going on. And previously and currently, we've used different methods to assess the mitigation potential. So for me, it will be important to see which methodology we're going to use so that assess whether it will be aligned with what is currently being used. Because at the end of the day, we want the results of this activity to be aligned with the current ongoing work. So it is better for us to streamline such kind of methodologies, but at the end of the day, we get value of what you have done. Yeah, basically, I think that's it. That's what I wanted to put forward. Thank you.
You very much. He said yes. First of all, don't worry. I wanted to close the questions. We hear Lisa. Then we'll see the next steps.
Thank you very much. One way that development clarified, taking into account either by you or the consultancies. Rather mostly our, to say one of the approaches, take into account the inventories. And in Uganda, most of our inventories usually are based on cover, forest cover, and not take into account the species. And yet we are aware that different species may meet and it affects the emission differently. Do you have or consider any aspect that takes into account that the forest cover will have different species?
Very much.
Thank you very much, Vincent. I know that it can be a difficult piece of work to do in the time that we gave you, because also part of the preparation of the TRs and their revision, but we really needed this very quickly. And thanks, Derek, you hit the nail on the mission factors. And I know that some Kisa knows what some previous work that we have done in view of the mission factor. But also I think the kind of tire that we want to employ, is going to liberate us from that problem of of the mission factors. Because if we have issues, then we may have to use the IDCC. But of course, we think that where the country is reached now, we can even evolve into that, you know, because I think we have some significant amount of data now for some of these parameters that we need. So I think we need to qualify that issue, because you made a statement that you, and I don't know see from the time why, but you made a statement about the mutual funds that you're going to generate. Why? Then we came up with that question. To talk about, I know that we want to go up to 2025. And so we talk about the look at the maps for all the way up to 2025. And yes, you wonder, it can be a bit of a challenge. By November, for you to have, I know we can try to do some quick assessment of our imagery, but we might have a bit of an issue. So I think you need to have some assumptions which will make us get known to us at the time of the next phase of this preparation of this document, because then there could be some heavy questions about that, about the 2025 especially. For the 2024, we still have a challenge, but 25 particularly, so I think you need to have some good assumptions which you need to share with us in view of that. I think my last point is on, of course, and I was wondering why the conversation was about two methodologies. You know, the SBOWED and the map approach. So why can't we go with one? Well, we have to, I know that some colleagues are saying you can employ this methodology for a certain requirement, but can't we agree? Can't we agree and use one methodology if that can be employed? I know right now we're doing some work and we're making some decisions to use this SBOWED, that is the sample-based estimate. In theory, ahead of the other methodology we have been using, map subtraction and the rest of the methodologies that we have been using. So I think we need to agree quickly rather than have two approaches that will raise even more questions as you dive deep into this work. Maybe for now I can. But one of these, I think maybe to conclude, Robert, you did mention about publishing. I think we've had a challenge with our colleagues who've been supporting this work in the country. We do a lot of good work and we don't publish it. And so you find somebody publishing different statistics. I just read the other day somebody saying our current forest cover is 18.4% of, I was very disturbed because anybody can say anything if we don't publish. So I think we need, Robert, if it is possible, publish this work. We find a way. But to publish, that means we need to engage other structures for decision making. For example, the National Climate Change Advisory Committee, for example, can be one of the structures we can engage to make some decisions because this work is feeding into the NDC, for example, and the other structures, our senior management and the like, so that we can churn out a document that we can then take to the level of publishing when we have agreed as a country. So I just wanted to imagine that maybe we can think about that. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, sir, for those. So Vincent, responding to those who come. The Sam is there, some to respond to Sam.
Yes.
Also, which with.
Thank you so much, everyone, for the questions, need for clarification, advice, and suggestions. Yes, there are some questions that are directed to Robert. But I have a feeling that the questions, for example, raised by Mr. Stevie were responding along with you there about what Mr. is looking for and the methods. So to go from the start, do we have your name ready? James. Okay. Yeah, I think your question was on the estimation approaches. I think that's what Mr. Bob just interviewed. Yes, I think we're going to go with the sample base because that's what actually the technical team, the technical assessment looked at, but also it was in the response of the country, okay, that was going to be adopted. The assessment or reporting. So that's what we're going to delve into. Then Eric raised questions of prioritization. No, that goes to the assessment and in terms of how we are looking at in terms basically on estimation of assessing the changes. We talked of clarity on activity data and field verification. I'll send that to Sam. Sam, take note of that. We'll talk about the activity data and the need for verification, field verification. It wasn't clear to Derek. Then for stakeholder engagement, define what you need, what, when, and where. Robert, I suppose this comes with the finalization of your engagements with WWF to come up with that technical team or some advisory committee, and this should refine our engagements going forward. Then the categorization of other, in terms of agroforestry activities that are going on. Yes, I think we need to agree on the classes, but also we are looking at what Mr. Mui have talked about. We shall try to look at the alignment of what is being adopted, what is being used in terms of the classification and all that, so that we find a way of capturing it. Okay? Yes. Then information goes biomass energy. Looking at the biomass policy and the biomass energy action plan. Yes. Will be included in our situation. Then the perspectives. Where is the transport sector being thought of? This. So that's our concentration of the study. If capital critical, unless Robert has some addition over that. I think the other was more from Mr. Mugume about comments and guidance. Then finally, Mr. Bob Kelly. No, before we looked at the emission factors. Yes, we are going to look at the assumptions that should come with this, so as to avoid that trap in terms of coming up with emission factors and how safe it should be for ease of water avoidance of any
calculation. No. Then the mitigation potential. In terms of the methodology we intend to use to streamline what's going on. Yes. Now, why I think the objective was made last, it is after understanding what is being used. Okay? Then we shall come to a conclusion what approach to use. Because we, like you heard from previous guidance, we don't want a lot. Because any department or any novel approach comes with a lot of limitations and discussions which might end up resolving the study, especially time. Then the question about species level of constellation, that comes with a lot of work, which is not scope. Normally, we come up with models for each species, which is incorporated into the software, and then we have we can get it from the satellites, but not part of the scope. Yes, it needs a lot of time in the field because we have to train the sensors so as to be able to detect that this is my organ, this is the species, and then also the breadth of the study to come up with these models for each species. Meaning you have to look at the plantation forests, how they react to sensors, the species in there, then what's the natural forest, which has a mix of many species, at least the emergence. So it is a lot of work. Actually, it is a standalone fish, I would say, if I remember last lecture, citizen. Yes, it's a whole fish of its own, and if it's done in our country, it can be the best at. Yes, so we are not comparing that. Yeah, so I think the other we shall adopt according to the guidance from Mr. Bob with regards to mission factors, analysis of pairs, but then also approach could be considered. 2025, we shall need to state the assumptions because assumptions give us inputs in case of any new development. Then we have agreed on the technologies, maps absorption and area test, but then also there's management discussion, application, development. But let's first get study out the discussions of application to the discussion. But anyway, thank you so much. Those were the comments, Sam. Yeah, so I think Sam, you talk about you can add more so sample business nation, but then also utility.
Okay, thank you, Vivian. If I may speak to the issue of activity data. You know, we have our national data from 2015 to 2023, that is for the land use land cover data. But in this case, we are looking at the forest cover data. So we shall use the forest cover data from 2015 to 2013. The one product that we are going to produce is only the forest cover data for 2015. My boss, Bob, was worried about forest cover, where in some cases
we find forest cover reported at 18%. In this case, we already have forest cover for 2013, and we are going to update only forest cover for 2025. We are not doing the land use land cover map, but in this case, we are focusing on only updating forest cover. And after this study, this forest cover will also be a very important input in updating the land use land cover for the country for the year 2025. Because we are very much aware that we are not yet at the end of the year, but what we are only going to update is the forest cover. We are not going to touch other land uses. So we are going to adopt the NBS classification that is from the National Biomass Study that we used historically, which is the 5 different forest cover classes: plantations, broadleaf, plantations, conifers. Then the 2 categories of tropical forests, which is tropical forest high stock and tropical forest low stock, and also the woodlands. So we are just going to update on the forest cover, and this information will also be available for us to update our land use land cover for the country. So the process will be transparent. And then also the other thing is, instead of us relying on local data, you know, sometimes you get a report somewhere within our country, but the data sets are global and they want us to own what doesn't belong to us. Why don't we use our data sets and have what carries meaning for the country? And then, of course, there is one comment I want to make. With the data sets, we have so many changes that do happen. For example, we moved from the Landsat satellite imagery. We are now using Sentinel satellite imagery. And we have SEPAR. Then knows very well what happened in SEPAR. Those years we used to get single tile images. We could either buy or get them free, but stitching them together, there are so many issues associated with it. So the system from FAO has made it easier for us to get the satellite imagery. So the processing we are going to do is only to look at areas that might have changed and update on the forest cover data. I think I've answered.
Yes. I'm trying to be kind. Don't want people to say our events go beyond time. It's 5:20, so we need to. And the next 10 minutes. I think what I got from Havila, Steve, the last objective about mitigation potentials. We are looking at the two parameters, but still I know consultants will decide which parameter to focus on more. We are looking at those which sequester emissions and those that reduce emissions. See those parameters. So there are 4 forest approaches, generally which are known in mitigation potentials. One is red with the D, reducing emissions from deforestation, degradation. There it is assumed to look at what our REDD+ strategy can do, but without touching the plus. We are not touching the plus, it's only the D and D. So you can see how this work is going to be interesting. The other is sustainable forest management. Then we have the 2 big boys in the room, restoration. And now for the restoration, we are not looking at this restoration of the roads, looking at all landscapes, including other landscapes. We are looking at forest restoration. What am I trying to mean here? Area which was originally forest, but now it has undergone these changes, but it still has potential to be what?
Please note these words because you don't have people to say, you promised us so many things. We are not looking at the raw. We are only going to look at these key parameters. Also, the last one is the usual afforestation restoration. Looking at all these initiatives of grow, what, TSP, trees, with which other campaign is in the ministry, rules, to see across the time frame we are looking at. But I think Vincent and Tisa and the Cathay will agree. The time frame might be either 2030 or beyond 2030. Because also we need to agree on the time frame of the mitigation potential. Then we will give you these estimates. So that's the last objective. Now, coming back to the administrative work, I think Xavier provided good information. And when Xavier was speaking, I was connecting the dots. I think we might need to meet. We need a small team, fresh out this comment, and see what does not create you moving beyond material. Because I know that will require additional discussions, including money. So we need to see how we balance this. This is why I've requested our partners. We facilitate a small team, 35 members, work with the consultant. So I will expedite this one. At least that one I'm getting enough to show. Yes, what Bob wanted more methodologies of estimating emissions. I think yes. Now, I think someone who said one of the problems we have. Last year, we migrated from CPM. New methodologies that come. We have what we call the voluntary carbon discovery. Who are always coming up with different methodologies. You know, for them, they dream, they come with the methodology. They dream, they come with the methodology. And so we need to agree whether we should, we are going to use these standardized methodologies which are comparable, like those ones of mitigation activity, related report projects under the UNFCCC, like the PACAM, or you will zero to what is commonly done. Because in the past, at least, many of the mitigation potentials have been based on the standards and the green development mechanism. But now, everyone is running away from development mechanism. We have these stubborn carbon credit programs. So I don't know. That is another area we have to and we see what we can do. But in the tax bill, everyone is going to be looked at. Because these are some of the things we don't unpack in the information to facilitate the transparency and understand the NDC. And this one is, we're supposed to help us to get what to put more better in that section. Because you see, these are things people don't ask because you don't read them. You see, the beautiful thing in Uganda, like, write a big report. I know one agency of government which is going to publish reports. It's so huge. See, when someone brings you a huge report, the first thing, how am I going to read all of it? And as I conclude, thank you, Sam. You talked about the categorization of forests. How many of you have read the latest State of Environment report? You have child, it's online. Can show ourselves. So you can see, even you yourself, from reading the report, you are going to see the latest. The categorization has changed for forest. So it has been elaborated. Now, That new elaboration is what I think we are also going to take. It's good, it breaks down broadleaf, coniferous, tropical height, low, stark, and so forth and so on. So at least it is now, it is breaking us what, other than in the past, when we used to say forest plantation and what? And natural. So that is the good news about this recategorization. So things are getting a bit easier and more clear, but then we need to see how we substitute them. As I wind up, the publishing, this one I said yes, we will continue to explore all avenues. Well, whatever small we are generating in the forest world, it's going to be shared. Most importantly, we want this information to help give the current work. Many of you have invested in forest data. Up to now, me, still paying that team. When I see media capturing statistics of Global Forest Watch and other, simply because we are failing to communicate what we are doing. And then it becomes a biblical truth, and then it is used as a reference point. I think we need really to do more and let each of us be the ambassador of our own work we are doing. I know we are doing a lot of forest data, but because aggregating it and making it, and we give it that national picture, the problem we have. Lastly, a small team. I don't want to give you this burden of coming up with a small team now, but I would suggest anywhere we shall just notify my colleague back. Really, it's going to be intense work because we have up to November to have at least a draft which we need to share this process. This is ongoing. So, whoever would want to join us, let's make sure we are going to be moving at the speed of light, and we are going to be working online with a few meetings, which will be feasible. But I will make sure it will be facilitated. I don't know if I've left anything out, and I didn't hear anyone saying no to the inception report. I was simply clarifying and pointing how we can improve better. Since this is an inception, I begged to receive a mover and the secondment to the adoption of this report, but with obviously your comments as we close up this afternoon. Can I see the yes? Yeah, but I'm going to be moving the motion. We can have someone from FSSD, our report that would be more excellent, and then in CCD. Anna, we have 1 minute. Yes? Any mover of the motion to adopt this report with the comment? Yes. Yes. There you go. Who is the mover? Okay.
Yes, I think we, now, I think the essential report was not elaborate on what is going to be done. Methodologies have been described. Of course, areas where they need improvement, being able to put them out. So, personally, I think this inception report should be adopted. Of course, with amendments from the stakeholders.
Thank you very much. Then.
Just to add on to what my colleague has said, the consultant should just adopt the comments we have proposed, not in bad faith, but in good faith. But we proceed to the next step. Thank you.
So you should vote. So thank you very much. And since it is 5:32, I want to say it has been a wonderful discussion. Thank you so much for your expert knowledge, expert wisdom, like Irene played, but God to give us the wisdom and share it. This has been one of a very good afternoon of rich exchange of information. I think we need to clap for ourselves. Thank you so much. I think all of us have underscored what the nuts and bolts around estimating emissions look like. Many people think emissions are just a number without looking what is being cooked behind them. But now some of you have a picture of why forestry emissions are difficult to estimate, difficult to report. Because there are a number of issues to take into consideration. And I'm happy we have representation from all the data providers. Okay? My appeal, let's share this information. No one is not going to give any information. That's information to help us come up to clear statistical information. Once we consolidate and clean up, we will really have good data. I look at the satellite imagery, again, that's what one area I'm really looking forward. Not the ones we used to do, but the satellite, but what? Someone who had things which are free. And I think if it needs to buy some satellite images, some better look into that such that we can discuss with the partner. Because we really want to defend our forest information as much as we can. We are planting a lot, but people are still reporting deforestation rates of 2015. I mean, that hurts me. When we went to COVID, we went to a standstill, things stopped, but still people were saying deforestation. The people, 2009, 24. So these are things we need to discuss. In terms of logistics, I want to say each of you is entitled to facilitation. And this facilitation will come with your mobile money numbers. Make sure it is in your names as we are going across the film. The names will be just started immediately, that is the number. Problem we get, some of you move with numbers with additional names. Anna Amunkile, Anna. Then the mobile money number, it is Anna Amunkile. What does that mean? You first do the back and forth and approve those, and then we end up paying or back. So I will encourage you, you are to use the name mobile money. This is our work. For those who want to join that technical working group, which I've said is going to be working so fast, please reach out to Zoom. I say we are looking at the group of 3, 4. Automatically, we wrote letters to the ministry. I don't know whether those letters are reached to the respective department, CCD and FSS, to nominate officers. So for you, we are waiting for official communication. But the other team here want to join us, please feel free. And we look forward to working with you. From me, it's a good afternoon and thank you so much.